What's up, guys? Sorry about that. Did that thing where it started a whole new stream, so we'll hopefully everyone can get over here in just a minute. I saw some of the discussion in the other one though, Jose and Power about Gary Harris. Man, I was thinking about that before the stream started. I was gonna make sure to mention that. Gary Harris, dude, what did we say yesterday? He scored 22 total over the previous three games. I think he put up 23 and a half yesterday. So shout out to Jose, shout out to Gary Harris. But new slate
Yeah, man.
today, yesterday. Any other thoughts about?
I mean, of course, I said the L word being lock on Jonathan Isaac, and he had a terrible game and ended up getting benched. So, yeah, just gotta remember to never, I don't know, never say that word again. And yeah, shouts out on the Harris call. I mean, it's like we said though, minutes are everything in the playoffs. I mean, if a guy's taking shots and he's on the floor, he has upside. Unfortunately, I mean, I think Harris's success maybe even cut into Isaac as they were able to go a little bit smaller, trying to keep that game close. But yeah, on to today. No Orlando Magic, luckily.
Yeah, well, dude, for game one, I played more like compared to the ownership, I was higher on Mo Wagner than Jonathan Isaac.
Hmm.
I mentioned yesterday all the pros just jammed in Isaac, and yesterday for game one they jammed in Isaac, and then yesterday for game two, 90%, 95%, 100%, all the pros that
Yeah, so you
you know
can't feel
who
that bad about
follow.
it.
So yeah,
Yeah.
like it was correct. It sucked. There was one pro, I can't remember who it was, but he played zero Jonathan Isaac and 100% Morris Wagner. Very, very, very risky. It worked out yesterday. He didn't win the tournament though. You
Mhm.
still got to get the rest of the lineup right, but it's just an interesting note. I don't know if we're gonna have any situations like that today. We'll find some cheap value plays. I saw Pat Bev being thrown around in chat. And Pat Bev, I mean, he's playing great. Or did he play great game one? Am I mixing that up?
He played pretty well. He had 30 fantasy points, which for
Oh
him
yeah,
is
that's
great.
we'll take that all day.
And
Yeah.
then yeah, we saw Dame Time mouthing to the crowd, "This is why I'm here." In terms of DFS, he didn't have the best game, but yeah, the Bucks look like they're probably still going to run this series even without Giannis. So a lot to like there tonight with Kawhi coming back for the Clippers. Most of the value we're going to find, if you even want to call it that, is going to be in this Bucks side of things here.
Yeah, it's like I mean the top six plays on DK value are from the Indiana Milwaukee game, and
Yeah.
I mean two of them are Tyrese and Pascal. The rest are kind of I mean Miles Turner's not really, but Naismith, Bev, and Brooke Lopez. Now Aaron Naismith, I was pretty low on last time, but since the market was so high on him, I couldn't lower him to like get none of him, so I still had more than I wanted, and he was awful. Are you back on him tonight?
No, honestly, I'd love to get away from him if I can. Yeah, just the wings for the Pacers have been super inconsistent. It's tough to trust anything other than Siakam there right now. Um, so yeah, off Naismith. I'm curious on his ownership.
Thirty, 58 on FanDuel? It seems absurd, dude.
Yeah, people want to bang their head into the wall and maybe hope for a ceiling game out of him. I'm not going to do it. Very comfortable getting away from him at that type of ownership.
Hey, Unicorn Love, you're on the other one. Yeah, I know. I hate. I'm sorry it does that. Like, we got to figure something out with our streams. But you didn't miss anything. We just talked about yesterday's
The
slate a little
Magic.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
your
then
Lakers.
yeah, you're
I don't
well.
mean to rub it in, but yeah, that was brutal.
So for those of you that don't know, my roommate is a super duper annoying Suns fan,
Oh,
and
yeah.
during Suns games, he gets so mad when like we cheer for the other team. But then during Laker games, oh my god, and I it made it so much worse, dude. I didn't even look at him. Like the shot went up, it was going in. We all knew the shot was going in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it
And
was.
then I cried in my room for the rest of the night.
And funny enough, that wasn't the worst collapse last night.
No,
The
no,
Sixers, man.
no.
Yeah, Reggie Miller vibes in the Garden there, but this time on the Knicks side of things. Man, they got vibes out there. I still don't think they could get past Boston, but seeing like Melo in the crowd and like a lot of these ex Knicks and stuff, I mean, Garden's bopping right now. And I hate the Knicks as a Nets fan, but I can admit when someone's got the vibes, and I feel like the Knicks do right now.
I have Knicks in the East. If Lakers won yesterday, I would have said Lakers Knicks finals, but now, no, Lakers or
Man,
Knicks Nuggets probably. But um, anyways, should we go into a little more teams, or do you want to go by positions?
I mean, however you'd like, man. As I was telling you before we went on, I got my own kind of flu game here today.
Nice.
I do have a clear nostril now, so I actually sound a lot better than I did. I was talking to LB a few minutes ago, but yeah, whatever's easiest for you. Very short injury report tonight. I mean, yeah, almost nothing to really talk about other than Kawhi coming back. Grayson Allen's questionable. Kyle Anderson's questionable. So yeah, however you want to do it, I think we can cover
Let
everything.
Okay, I pulled up some rotations. Let's actually do that real quick. Let's start. What's the first game tonight?
The Suns at Minnesota, and again, the slate locks 30 minutes later than usual. So just
First.
folks keep that in
Why
mind.
is this the first game? It's weird. I don't know where
It is
Minnesota is on a
weird.
map, so
I mean, I know it's further west than Milwaukee.
um all right, I tried to do this last time. I don't know if it's going to work. I wanted to pull up the rotation because there's a couple notes I wanted to say. Kyle Anderson got hurt after about 5 minutes. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so he played.
4 minutes.
Yeah, so he played and then he got hurt. And it looks like Nikhil Alexander Walker was kind of the beneficiary. Like Kyle Anderson, or I should say, Nikhil still would have played minutes in the second half, but it kind of seems like he got a couple more minutes. Maybe a couple went to Naz Reid too.
Yeah.
And then no one else on the bench was worth anything. So I think tonight, assuming Kyle Anderson doesn't play, we're only looking at Naz Reid and Nikhil Alexander Walker as like punts off the bench. Like I'd usually be somewhat interested in Monte Morris. I don't know if we can get there tonight though, even with this weird slate. But
Yeah.
we'll look at the pricing in a minute. But Rudy Gobert was a spot on the Timberwolves I'm really looking at. I mean, he basically led them in minutes, and his price on DraftKings is just stupid at 7,100. Someone mentioned Jaden McDaniels. He actually did lead the Timberwolves in minutes, so he's probably going to be a good shout. I mean, either way, he's just the minutes are there. And then for the Suns, they also ran a super tight rotation with pretty much only Eric Gordon and Royce O'Neal getting minutes. Drew Eubanks played 9 minutes, but other than that, it was just these two. So, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, we do have to keep an eye on the Grayson Allen thing. I do think if he's out, I think Swerve and chat shouted out Royce O'Neal. He's going to look a lot better as value here. Same price as McDaniels. We at least know Royce is going to get some shots up. I mean, he can get hot from three on occasion, so I don't mind that as a play. If Grayson's in, I think his ownership stays relatively low. No one's going to want to play him off this injury, but I honestly think he's cheap enough to maybe consider. But yeah, as far as like payups go, like I'm not clamoring really to get to Booker or Durant. I mean, this team does have their back against the wall. This is obviously an important game, it being the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, there's other spots I think I prefer to pay up for tonight. I don't think that's necessarily a hot take, but I'm with you. I really do like Rudy, especially at the DK price. I will say Mike Conley had a terrible game. I do think we see a little bit better of a performance out of him. On a slate where there's not a ton of guard value out of Pat Bev, I don't think he's the craziest pivot. I know no one's ever excited to play Mike Conley in DFS. But yeah, just under 6K. I don't think he's a terrible tournament play. But yeah, Ant Man laughing in KD's face. Maybe we get more of that tonight here.
All right. First of all, that dude, I don't know if he mentioned it yesterday, but I love that KD just smiled at him. Like he didn't get
Yeah, man.
mad. He's just like I'm good enough for this dude
He's
to
a
feel
hooper.
this way about it, right? But
Yeah,
then
man.
no one would ever do that to LeBron.
That's
Um, m-
fair. I
Maybe they
mean,
would, but so looking at my exposures, I'm getting to a bunch of Rudy and Jaden McDaniels. I wasn't sure about Jaden, but I mean he's top of value for this game, and like I said, he's 4,100. We have him projected for 33 minutes. He probably sees a couple more, assuming the game's close and Kyle Anderson is still out. But I mean, just sorting by value, Bradley Beal showing up here, D Book, Kevin Durant. So it kind of just shows like the rest of the value in this game is not just it's not great. Do you feel differently about anyone lower on the list?
yeah, I mean, point per dollar, Beal definitely stands out. We've seen him spike that upside recently. Booker doing more facilitating here and drawing a lot of Mike Conley, which hasn't been great for him. But yeah, I don't mind Beal at his price. Obviously, kind of volatile. But yeah, I mean, I do kind of agree with the model for the most part. I will say McDaniels does feel overowned. He's kind of like the Nick Batum of last night, or maybe the Gary Harris. McDaniel's not a guy who usually shoots as many threes as Harris does. We know the minutes are there though, and like we said, when you're desperate for value, just go with the minutes. And tonight we're getting that with McDaniels, so I think it does make sense. But 50% on FanDuel, almost 40 on DK, definitely feels too high in my opinion.
And we
Grayson's
just
in, by the way. Yep.
yeah, we just got that news because I was about to say I was gonna adjust all my stuff and just play all the Royce O'Neal at 4K. I'm still gonna play him a bunch, but not
Yeah.
I'm not gonna play him like I played Jonathan Isaac yesterday. And then Naz Reid is down to 48 and 5,300. I mean, do you think that he's worth some shots? I mean, Rudy Gobert's price is definitely too cheap over on DraftKings, over on FanDuel. Or I mean, what do you think about either site with Naz Reid?
I mean, I like him. I'm honestly biased. I'm a Nas stan. Like my best Twitter take ever was after the draft when he went undrafted, complaining about it, and that's really made me feel smart. But yeah, man, I don't know. I like him at the price. Again, you're dealing with a boom bust type of player, but I will say this: I'm more comfortable going to him than a super chalky Aaron Naismith. People are going to try to mix in some of the other front court pieces for the Pacers. Like I like Nas just knowing he could spike that upside more than these other guys. And even though this game is the lower total, I don't know. He's just we've seen it out of him, and it's going to be even better if Anderson's out because he can't play on the wing a little bit. I don't know how many minutes they're going to want all three of those bigs if you're calling Nas a big on the floor with Cat and Gobert. But he's shown. I mean, if the Suns really try to clamp down on Edwards, like playoffs, we see reactionary game planning often. So like Edward goes off for a game. I mean, likelihood is the Suns are really going to try to clamp on him here. That should open things up for other guys. And if they're not getting a lot of offense flowing through the front court, maybe Nas Reed's someone that can emerge off the bench. So again, it's risky, it's not safe, but at his price, I'd rather take a shot on him at high risk than some of the other guys in that price range that probably end up drawing more ownership than him.
Yeah, I think we probably want to be. I mean, he has power forward eligibility on DraftKings. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd like to be. I haven't. I don't know. I'm like so disorganized today, but I feel like I'd want to be 2x the field on Nas Reed. The point is just get over because he's probably a little bit under owned today given his GPP upside.
Yep.
And the other guy, I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So the model thinks he's bad, like bad, right? But 13%, 3%. He played big minutes in game one. We still have him projected for 23 and a half minutes. I think he's a really good pivot. I'd like to be over this 13% as well. Not by much. Maybe he'll be around like 20%, no more than 30.
Yeah, I mean, that game, hitting 4 threes, shooting 9 threes, probably a little bit of an outlier. But again, you don't necessarily need all that at this price point. I mean, if he hits 2 threes and, I don't know, plays 25 minutes, you're still going to feel pretty damn good about that play at 4K. So I like Alexander Walker. I think he's fine. Um, he's very similar to Reed, even though they play different positions. I imagine it's easier to build with Walker because he's guard forward on DK and shooting guard on FanDuel, small forward as well, I think. But yeah, I kind of see them as similar plays, just very high upside. But don't be shocked if they disappear if some of these other guys like Mike Conley get going tonight.
And then last guy before we move on to the next game, Eric Gordon, 3,500 and 4,100 at sub 10% ownership. He played, I believe, 21 minutes in the previous game. Now, maybe he got a couple more of these minutes because Grayson Allen, he got hurt halfway through the third.
Yeah.
Is that what happened? And so, I don't know. Eric Gordon, 3,500, like most of the time he's going to fail and it's not going to work out. But at 5% ownership, he has the ability to get hot from three. It's a little different with Grayson Allen back in, but I mean, at 5%, if I have a 20, I'm making 60 lineups tonight. Maybe I end up with 2 or 3 shares of Eric Gordon.
Yeah, I don't think it's crazy. Kind of similar to last night. We're like, how many guys sub 4K on DK or around that price on FanDuel are we even a little bit interested in? And I'm not crazy
Yeah.
about Gordon. Like, he's so scoring dependent, really needs his shots to fall. We only have him for around 22 minutes, which obviously isn't great. But can he get hot? Yes. And are we kind of lacking value? Yes. So, I mean, in tournaments, it does make some sense. Just know you're kind of looking for a low percentage outcome and him succeeding here. Um, and yeah, with Allen back, I don't know that those 22 minutes are safe. I mean, he's a vet. I think they do have him on the floor ahead of most of these guys on the bench. But yeah, man, I mean, again, it's more a product of the slate than anything. I can't say I'm excited to play Gordon, but similar to last night, I'm not going to fault someone for getting to him, similar to what we were dealing with Harris.
I mean, it's one of those plays where if Eric Gordon comes in, hits a couple threes, he's probably going to get a couple more minutes to run. And if
Yeah.
he comes in and bricks a couple threes, he's just not. And so
Right.
it's like it's super boom or bust. I see a Unicorn Love 80 Middleton 8,100. Is that too high of a price on FanDuel? I don't think so. I mean, I feel like someone asked this question last time too, and we said no. And Middleton, well, I mean, his rebounds were what got him there last time, right? 10 rebounds. He had like 7 in the first half. 45 fantasy points for Chris Middleton in 35 minutes. Shot 9 for 14, but I mean, this is pretty good. I didn't run lineups on FanDuel, but I feel like I'd still be getting him over there. I'm getting a ton on DraftKings.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like floor plays in the 8K range, I do think he's safer than maybe some of your Clippers with Kawhi back or I don't know, uh, Booker. But like, yeah, it feels expensive. But when you look at what he's been doing with Giannis off the floor, he has 50 fantasy point upside, which is what you kind of need at that price to win a tournament. But if he's in the 40s and your other plays do really well, 3 game slate, like you don't need everything to crush to win this slate. Like these aren't those 12 gamers end of season where everyone was scoring 400 plus to take down a tournament. Like we could see low scores here. I mean, a lot of good defenses on this slate in particular. So yeah, I like Middleton. I think in terms of high floor, he defines that tonight. I really think he's one of the safer options in that mid range if you're taking risks at other positions.
Yeah, I think this 30% on DraftKings is too low,
Yeah,
and even the
agreed.
30% on FanDuel, like that sounds very, very reasonable. It might be a little bit too low as well, but
Agreed.
I'm pretty sure the DraftKings one is too low either way.
No.
Knicks, we mean New York Wildcats. It's just the most fun team ever, dude. It's my second favorite team in the NBA now. It wasn't before like 3 weeks ago, but I love
Yeah.
rooting for them. Their podcast is super fun too.
Yeah, I mean the rivalry with Brooklyn and them. I mean, I don't know. I tend to hate them, but I do really like Dibs, and honestly, it is just tough not to like this team with what they've got
Yeah,
going right now. So, hey, man,
and
hopefully it continues.
yeah, I can't wait to talk about the Knicks Celtics matchup in like 3 weeks.
Oh man, yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Uh, so let's keep on Milwaukee. I mean, Pat Bev. It sounds like we're both okay with it. I mean, 4,500, 61% ownership. The 5,600 on FanDuel though. How do you like that?
I don't love it. Not gonna lie, but at the same time, again, like this is a 3 game slate. Like you're not gonna love every play at every position, and if you do, you're probably playing too chalky of a lineup. So like we're looking at what's available in that range. I mean, I talked about Conley earlier. I was gonna be like, oh yeah, that's just such an obvious pivot, but they have the exact same ownership, so like you're not really getting much of a discount. And I do think Beverly probably outscores him here more times than not. I mean, the Indiana defense really keying in obviously on Dame and Middleton in that backcourt. Beverly getting a ton of open looks. Not a great shooter, but I mean, I don't know if the shots are there in a spot against the Pacers, who guards have done pretty well against, even with good defenders on that team. I don't mind him at all. So yeah, I'm fine with it. I was gonna say Conley's like a really logical pivot, but they have the same ownership now. So yeah, just play Pat Bev, I guess.
And then Brooke Lopez, I jammed in last time, and he was like the only center that did not work out. Are you going back to him today?
Honestly, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I think
again,
so.
I mean, I try to reveal when I'm biased. Brooke Lopez, Nets leading point getter in the history of their franchise, aka Splash Mountain. Just to hype him up a little bit here, but the ownership's down today. I mean, he's below 35% on both sites. I prefer Portis, obviously, but
Yeah.
I don't know. He's reasonably owned compared to the other centers. I know we both really like Gobert on DK, but where Gobert's 8K over on FanDuel, I do think Lopez is the more logical guy to get to in cash games. Center's kind of thin, again, because Towns and Gobert share that front court. Turner's minutes have been pretty inconsistent. And then Portis, you can play it forward. So, like, what are we doing? Like, do you want to play Zoo? Do you want to play these Dallas centers? I'm not sure I do. So, again, it's not that we're going to love every single play tonight, but I do think as far as, like, point per dollar centers go, it's tough not to like Brook here. He took 4 threes, only made one. I mean, that's about average for him. Didn't take many shots in the paint, though. So maybe we see a little bit better of a showing from him here. Siakam was absolutely tremendous, and I think he was trying to kind of slow that down, and that was failing. But yeah, at his price, one of the better center plays on the slate again. Only 3 games, not that much to choose from.
I like it. And then, so I'm pretty in on Bobby Portis again. He's 50% owned on both
Oh, yeah.
sides. I'm going right back to him. He's my second highest owned player right now.
Yep.
What do you think about playing him with Brooke? Do you care at all?
Not really. I
Yeah.
think they're fine. Again, I don't know. They're just kind of priced where they should be with Giannis out. Um, Yeah, I'm kind of impartial. Like if it was a bigger slate, I'd probably say no. But we only have 3 games to choose from. Let's say one of these other 2 games blows out. Like you're really going to want to hone in on the two that stay close. I'm not saying I
Right.
expect any game to blow out, but just knowing that that's like a possible outcome. Like you shouldn't set too many rules.
And let's take a look at the rotation real quick for Milwaukee, and we're seeing kind of the same thing. So they have Malik Beasley coming off the bench now. Pat Connaughton was really the only bench player that got real minutes. Jay Crowder, I mean, he's in there, but I'm just going to X him out today. I don't think there's any point. I say that, and he's going to come in and hit 4 threes in the first half, but it's like their rotation's so tight. So like the starters, I'm comfortable getting to all of them. We didn't really talk about Dame, but I mean he's Dame. He's one of the pay ups we have. He's fine. Malik Beasley off the bench. He played 29 minutes. Do you have any interest as a pivot there?
He's okay to kind of mix in. I don't feel great about it. I mean, he does probably have more upside than a Jaden McDaniels, which sounds insane.
Hmm.
McDaniels obviously the way safer play, but like there are reasons to pivot to him in large field contests. Again, 3 games, tough to get different. He could get hot, kind of similar to like an Eric Gordon, but we know his minutes are more secure than Gordon's are. Um, So yeah, I don't love it, but again, I'm going to say this 100 times. I feel like you're not going to love everything in your lineup
Yeah,
tonight. It kind of is what it is. So off the bench, I do trust him over Connington or Crowder. I will say that
same.
much. So yeah, mix him in, um, and if he gets hot, he could definitely close either the half or the game. We have seen that before.
I do like the 8% on DraftKings at 4,200. I think that's a pretty strong GPP play. But over on FanDuel at 33% at $100 cheaper, it feels like bad chalk. Where I
Yeah,
don't know. I've talked about this. I think of like guys like Isaiah Joe, where they'll randomly, you know, I mean, this isn't random, but their ownership will be kind of high off the bench, and it's basically just banking on them hitting threes. But
right.
I get it. He's 4,100 on FanDuel, but I would probably want to not be at 33% if I could help it.
Yep, I agree. I do just want to talk about another guard in this game. I mean, McConnell played his regular minutes,
Mhm.
played 18 minutes, and most guys, you see that you go, okay, this is not a guy I want in my lineups. But for TJ, he's well over a fantasy point per minute on the season. Had a terrible game last time out, and I think we're going to get 18 to 20 minutes from him again here. If you want to mix him in, I think he's probably a little bit overowned now that I'm looking at it. But yeah, I mean, he makes some sense coming off the bench, and again, you don't need that many minutes from him. It kind of lowers the variance, in my opinion, just knowing that he's usually super productive when he's on the floor. Not crazy about the price. It seems like the field's getting there more than I expected them to. But I do think he's worth a shout. Like, I wouldn't look too deeply into that last game. That does seem to be an outlier for him.
I'm jamming in TJ McConnell tonight.
So,
I'm super low on Tyrese Halliburton right now since he's
yeah.
been injured. He's just not been the same. Like there were some stats that I saw. So we know that Indiana destroyed Milwaukee in the regular season. They played 5 times, and
Yep.
Halliburton averaged 27 and 11. He took 9 shots in game one, had 8 assists, 7 rebounds. It's just so far and away the worst game he's had against them, and it doesn't make sense because he's like he just crushes them. So it's like he's so hurt right now,
Yeah.
and he's
He's
not
been
close to 100%. First time he's taken less than 16 shots too, playing Milwaukee this season. So that's kind of a big deal. But like you said, these low minutes. I mean, this is insane fantasy production for
right.
TJ McConnell, and now we're getting him at 4,600. The field is off him because we talked about this yesterday. Mitch Robinson versus Isaiah Hartenstein. The field is overreacting, and this is a
Simple
little
as
bit
that.
different of a situation,
Yeah.
but the same concept applies. Like Mitchell Robinson, don't get me started on Mitchell Robinson.
Oh,
Hartenstein
yeah.
was awesome yesterday. That was a good call by you. But TJ, anyway, yeah, I really like TJ McConnell today as one of my cheap pieces, and then
Absolutely.
looking at the Pacers rotation, like I wasn't sure about like Jalen Smith and Obi Toppin, and Obi Toppin got a little bit of more of a run in the second half, only 13
Mhm.
and a half minutes, so it's not great. Jalen Smith only 13, so I don't know that anyone else off the bench on the Pacers is viable except for TJ. Foul trouble happened, so it's possible. Miles Turner exits early, Jalen Smith or Obi Toppin pick up the slack, but I think we want to focus on the starters here, and I think we already mentioned we don't love Naismith. I don't love Nemhard, and I don't love Halliburton, so I'm probably going to be just heavy on Siakam, TJ, and I'll mix in Miles Turner since I don't love centers today.
Yeah, I'll mix in some Turner. I agree. I mean, I'm going back to Lopez, but I'm keeping a close eye on ownership for center because we have those two. I mean, we talked about Rudy Zubac coming off a huge game. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but yeah, I think it makes sense to get to some Turner here. Obviously, playing a very big Milwaukee team. Siakam might be the most obvious play on the slate. Last night I described Jonathan Isaac as the most obvious play on the DK slate. I do think this is a very different situation though.
Yeah.
Siakam should play 40 minutes, give or take, as long as this game's competitive. Halliburton, he's in his own head. He's not taking shots. Still facilitating though. I mean, Siakam's getting decent looks, and yeah, with Giannis out, obviously not the same defensive matchup as it is with Giannis in. So Siakam price doesn't seem to have moved much on either side. I don't think.
No,
Gonna
it's
gonna
good.
be popular, but sub
Yeah.
50%, a little bit surprising to me. One of my favorite plays on the board, certainly. I know we talked about a few other guys that 8K range. Siakam probably the safest of that bunch. I mean, we're comparing him to like a Middleton. I do think I prefer Siakam. If we're comparing him to, I don't know, some of these Clippers, I think Siakam's is kind of a no brainer.
Yeah, I jammed him last slate, and I was kind of uncomfortable with it. It worked out, and I'm jamming him today. I'm more comfortable about it, but I have a worse feeling that it's not going to work out. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it almost
yeah.
seems too good to be true that the price didn't
Yeah.
move, and he's taking every shot. But
And then we ragged on Naismith. I just want to talk about Nemhard just real quick, but he's 30% over on FanDuel versus 10 on DraftKings. Is this kind of just the same thing with Naismith?
yeah, I mean, it's similar. Just way too popular. Wait, hold on. Yeah, way too popular on FanDuel. Cheap enough. The minutes are there. But yeah, we just never see much of an upside out of him. Like, what's it going to take for him to get to 30 fantasy points? Like a perfect game. And I
Yeah,
don't know. I'd just rather chase that with some of the other 4K plays we have on the slate.
TJ.
Yeah, TJ. I would definitely be playing TJ over Nemhard, even coming off the bench. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm probably not going to play much on FanDuel. On DK, it's not insane because no one's playing him. But at the same time, it's just so rare we see that ceiling out of him that it's
Yeah.
not something I feel comfortable chasing, really.
Yeah, I'd rather even the 10%. I'm only playing on DraftKings today, but I don't even want 10% on DraftKings. Feels like a waste of a lineup. But
Yeah,
again, I say that it's DFS. Anything can happen.
and it's hilarious to say, but like they really should have kept Buddy Hield like as a spacer,
Dude, he's
and
not even playing on the
he's
Sixers,
rotting on the
man.
Sixers bench. Like he doesn't fit there, but like this Pacers team could really use another scorer, and they don't have one. So yeah, kind of a
Dude,
weird situation for both those teams
if
right now.
Buddy Hield was on this team over Torian Prince, dude, it'd be like a whole different NBA.
The Lakers, yeah, yeah, man. I mean, Buddy Hield's a needle mover on certain rosters. It is what it is.
And I don't want to pronounce it wrong, but I'm guessing it. Matthias in the chat. Great content. Love it. Thanks. Thank you. For DraftKings one lineup, Pat Bev or TJ McConnell. I mean, well, let's see what's the ownership. So you have a. It seems like Pat Bev is going to be the chalk play and TJ's the pivot. And so I think depending on the rest of your lineup,
Yeah, if you're already playing guys that are like 20% or lower in some of your other spots, I'd say just go to Pat Bev. Definitely
yeah.
way safer. But if you're eating all chalk, that's a pretty logical pivot. I talked about Conley earlier, but you're getting a nice discount off of my Conley. I'd rather pivot to TJ. So really depends on your builds. Pat Bev, definitely safer, but at the ownership discount, it does make sense to pivot if the rest of your lineup's pretty chalky.
And the model's not close. The model has Pat Bev way above TJ.
Yeah, yeah,
It's going to be, I mean, Pat Bev's probably projected for twice as many minutes 33 versus TJ's like 16 or 19. So not quite
yeah,
2x, but
that's fair.
what do we think about Terrence Mann? We are just transitioning into the Clippers. Let me answer this next question first. Beasley over McConnell. So my quick thought on that is their ceilings are pretty similar, but Beasley's going to have a floor outcome much more often. Do you feel differently?
No, I totally agree, and I know like projections are going to probably favor Beasley a lot of the time because of the minutes. But yeah, we just said. I mean, McConnell had a down game, but he usually gets there in 20 minutes. He does everything. He's rebounding, getting assists, steals, blocks, etc. Beasley's super scoring dependent. Obviously, can spike that upside, so I don't think it's crazy. But yeah, I prefer McConnell of the two, even knowing that he's probably going to be playing like 10 less minutes.
Yeah, I have McConnell for 6 more fantasy points today, so it's not for me. It's not really close. But like I said, I do think that Malik Beasley is a great GPP pivot. But
For
I
sure.
like McConnell. For me, McConnell's a core part of what I'm doing. It's kind of risky, but
Yeah,
I feel better about that than I do Beasley.
I feel you.
Let's transition to the Clippers. I think someone asked about Terrence Mann. Yeah, I played a ton of him last time. I was more on Norman, like consciously, I was on Norman Powell, but I got a bunch of Terrence Mann anyway, and luckily I did because Norman Powell was terrible. But I really like Terrence Mann again tonight. One of my highest. Is he my highest owned player? Yeah, he's my highest owned player right now. Terrence Mann, Bobby Portis, Chris Middleton, Pascal Siakam, T.J. McConnell, Rudy Gobert is my top 6 right now. So I'm on him. Do you? Are you?
I was gonna say like I don't love it, but then I saw the ownership. On DK, it makes a lot of sense. I know Kawhi's coming back, but at
No. Oh,
4,100, the minutes are there for him. He's
this is not
probably
correct. This
what's
has to
that?
be wrong, right? Terrence Van 7. I didn't even notice he was 7%.
It's because Kawhi's back, I think, but people might be overreacting.
Yeah, he's still gonna play, and he's still 4,100. Okay,
It,
he might not end up being my highest owned player, but I'm still gonna be well over the 7%.
yeah, and it's been a long time since Kawhi's been in, so like we're going back to the end of March to kind of see what the situation was there. But I think Coffee is the guy who's going to lose minutes first.
Yeah,
Uh, then Man probably after the fact. I played a bunch of Coffee that last night. That didn't really work out. But yeah, man, I think he's good. No pun intended. And at the ownership, very logical play. I mean, we're comparing him to guys like Beasley and McConnell we just talked about. We know he can spike that upside. And yeah, Kawhi's back tonight, but who's to say he's 100%? We don't really know. It does give you reason to kind of pump the brakes a little bit on the rest of the Clippers, but at the same time, I mean, first game back after almost a month, I think he's going to be fine. But who's to say? And again, 3 game slate, tough to get different. Terrence Mann has flashed the upside more consistently than most of these other 4K plays, so I'm fine with it.
And then since we're on Terrence Mann, like with Kawhi back, I mean Norman Powell, his price is lower. He's 4,700, 5K on FanDuel. I mean now he's just kind of like a GPP play, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the minutes are still probably going to be there for him. He probably plays 25 to 30. Coming off a terrible game, kind of is what it is. But I don't know. I'm not crazy about it, but you could mix him in. I don't know. This Clippers situation is honestly difficult to get a good read on. We don't know what Kawhi's going to look like. He did go through shoot around. He is active. Zubac coming off a huge game. I mean, George has been playing excellent. We've seen some huge games out of Harden. But you have to think like the data is going to lower all these guys now. But I
Yeah.
don't know. You're still going to get your outlier performances like as we do during the season. It's tough to nail down who's going to go off night to night. But I'd say it's probably someone other than Kawhi here if this game is close with the Clippers win. So yeah, I'm fine getting to all these guys, but it's more ownership than anything else. Like, I'm not going to pretend that Kawhi coming back doesn't matter, but it seems like the field's overreacting a bit.
Yeah, I think that these ownerships are a little bit too low because I'm looking at it, and so Kawhi's been out, but who's priced for Kawhi to be out? It's really just, I think it's really just James Harden. Like 8,100 to me is Paul George's regular price with this team healthy. I mean, Zubac right around in the range. Norman
Yeah,
Powell, Terrence Mann, like maybe Terrence Mann's a couple hundred more, but for the most part, I think this team is actually like correctly priced. But just keep in mind, I do think that the rest of the playoff pricing is too soft on DraftKings. I think everyone is just underpriced across the board, where the Clippers are appropriately priced now. But I like getting to these guys. I'm going to get to Mann. I'm probably going to take shots on Powell still since he sucked in game one. Doesn't make
right.
sense to play him tonight, so why wouldn't he have a good game? Zubac is probably going to be one of my favorite centers. Just feels good. 7,100 at 1% on FanDuel for Zubac. Are you getting there at all?
Uh, Maybe in a lineup, but like I'd much rather get up to a Gobert or just go down to Brolo or Turner. The price is kind of crazy with Kawhi coming back. Um, but yeah, 5,800 on DK, like that's an entirely different conversation. Only 20%, it seems too low. On FanDuel, he's 1%. Yeah, too low, like technically speaking, but I can't say I feel great about it. Centers have been a thing against Dallas even after the deadline, getting Gafford in Washington. It's a good matchup for him. But yeah, I have to think he loses usage and rebounding opportunities here with Kawhi on the floor. We're projecting Kawhi right around 32, 33 minutes. So
Seems
um,
reasonable.
yeah, yeah, when he's 100%, he can play 40. So I think
Yeah.
that's a pretty safe projection there. But yeah, I like Zoo on DK. FanDuel's price, man, like you need 40 plus probably. I don't feel great about that.
And Power, what's my projection on Monte Morris? My personal projection, I think, is like six. The model, it's not even in it, so it's probably. I mean,
Yeah,
for
we have him
showdown,
under 10 minutes is what that means.
it,
Yeah,
yeah. If you're playing showdown, he's probably a decent play, but for the main slate, it's just he's not going to play enough minutes most of the time.
right.
Luca low owned on a 3 game. It's a good transit. You guys are just on fire with the
Yeah, you
transitions
guys are
today.
producing for us.
Yeah,
It's
right
lovely.
before we just you guys are guiding the show. Appreciate you. Luca, 20% and 20%. I thought he was predicted for what 10 last time. He came in at 20. I had 50. Uh, he he was okay. Dallas was terrible, so he didn't really get there. But I'm gonna go right back to him today if I can find the value. Right?
Yeah, Dallas came out flat. Like I think we need to kind of talk about this a little bit. They looked so bad in the first half. They kind of made it a game in the second half. Like I bet them it was like plus 1,000, something stupid. Like I knew they weren't going to come all the way back, but I don't know. There was a moment there in like end of the third quarter where they pulled within I think close to 10 and it felt like a sweat. It's just like I don't know. Sometimes these teams don't show up for game one. They've kind of had the Clippers number two, so I think it's just coaching. And Ty Lue has kind of had Dallas circled for months, it seems. But yeah, I think we see the adjustments made tonight. Luca still pretty much got close to value. And again, 3 game slate, raw points matter. There's no Giannis here, right? So who's going to outscore Luca? Maybe Kyrie if he's the one going off, but more often than not, you're going to need those raw points on a 3 game slate if Luca's getting 60 to 70, and even a couple of the value plays are half decent. So yeah, he's historically crushed his team. He didn't look great, but that was mostly the first half. He really did get going. I think the field's just kind of overreacting again. He played 42 minutes. Tough not to like him here.
Yeah, it's like so. Last time he was projected for 10. We thought he was going to come in 20. He did come in 20. Today's predicted for 20. What's he going to come in like 30?
Yeah, he's always under projected, I think.
Yeah,
But
even
um,
30s. I think that's fine. I'm okay with it.
yeah, and if we're talking in terms of like OF index, we're both low on Halliburton.
Yeah.
Halliburton's second behind Luca on the entire slate with a 13.3. Luca's 16.7. Then we got Dame and Kyrie. Kyrie low owned too, honestly, way too low owned on DK at 8,300, 9,700 on FanDuel, tough to get to, but I think it's one of the Dallas guards that probably leads the slate in scoring tonight. Maybe that's a hot take. Obviously, 9 times out of 10 or 8 times out of 10, it's going to be Luca. But both these guys are low owned and kind of similar to what we're dealing with in the front court for Milwaukee. I don't think it's crazy to play them together. Again, I think that feels overreacting to a bad half of basketball, which is insane to me. Love both these guys. They're both under owned on the slate. We don't have much to pay up for.
Yeah, I was just gonna say because I'm kind of low on Halliburton. I'm
Yeah,
uncomfortable with Dame, and so I don't mind playing lineups with Luca and Kyrie. But then I'm looking at D Book and Kevin Durant, and their prices are like Anthony Edwards are all under 9K. Like these are
yeah.
all really good mixes, and then just play like TJ McConnell or Pat Bev in the point guard spot, the other point guard spot anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to last night when we were like, all the expensive guys are under owned. So if you
Yeah.
could find value you're comfortable with, go a little bit more stars and scrubs, get one extra of these studs into your lineup. I think you're in really good shape. Like Siakam's the one piece that's really chalky, but he's floating around 8K. So like I think you could fit these payups in, and if you're playing a bunch of lineups, it should be relatively easy to get over the field on most of them. Again, you're just gonna have to play more value than maybe you're comfortable with.
So it's like I'm playing a bunch of Luca. I think I'm going to get some more Clippers in the field. Like Terrence Mann, I think I'm going to get just based on price, and he's going to start with Kawhi back, or he should anyway. And then yeah, just mix in more of James Harden and Paul George since I'll be under on Tyrese and Dame anyway.
Bingo.
I wanted to look at. Oh, that's not the rotation I was looking at. I wanted to look at the rotation for Dallas because I thought it was kind of interesting that Daniel Gafford he got hurt, right?
Yeah, I think he went to the locker room and didn't come back. And that could be a big part of why Zoo had this crazy ceiling game.
Hmm.
He is listed as active tonight.
So Daniel Gafford got hurt in the last game, and he was awful. And another guy that failed that I jammed in, just hoping for that ceiling. But he's coming in at 4% and 8% tonight, and like I'm probably not going to have the 40 or 50% I had last time, but I'm definitely
Right.
going to have I don't know 15, 20, 25. It's just that this like if you want to overreact to bad games, this is overreacting to a player physically unable to play because he got
Right.
hurt.
Right.
Uh, 14 minutes. We haven't projected for twice that, right? Daniel Gafford. Oh, 21. So not twice, but I think he's such a phenomenal GPP play. And again, it could not work out, but I think he's very, very strong tonight.
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking value, these centers tend to have higher ceilings than a lot of the other cheap guys at other positions. Like, they're under the basket, they're taking a lot of shots. I mean, the volume's going to be there for them. And again, this is just overreaction by the field, in my opinion. I'm with you, man. I like it.
Um, and so, just real quick, there's not too much to point out in the Clippers rotation because Kawhi's back,
Yeah.
so hard to look at that. But just a couple other things in Dallas's rotation. Derek Lively hadn't played in 3 weeks. This was his first minute since like March 31st, and he ended up getting those first half minutes. He got a couple in the second half, but most of Gafford's minutes after he went out went to Kleber. He played 27. He probably won't play 27 again.
No.
It's possible, but I think Gafford's going to play more, and then off the bench. Josh Green was basically out of the rotation. He didn't play till the fourth quarter. Tim
Yep.
Hardaway and Dante Exum 16 minutes. Like with Tim Hardaway, I will say he can hit threes, so that's a plus for him. But it just they have no confidence in him at all right now to do anything, so it's kind of tough.
Yeah, it's tough, man. And it's weird. I'm like, where are these minutes going?
Yeah, Luca,
It,
Kyrie, PJ,
yeah, I mean, and honestly, DJ didn't play as many as I thought he did.
Derek
Um,
Jones didn't play the fourth quarter at all. Like
yeah,
I don't
17
know,
minutes.
they gave up on him. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I don't know. I think my ownership here is going to be pretty concentrated. Could one of these guys spike upside? Probably. But yeah, I'm like, where are these minutes going? Like, they're going deeper on their bench. Again, I think this is because the game got out of hand more than anything else. So probably don't look too deeply into that. But if I trust anything here, it's Luca, Kyrie, Gafford, PJ. That's really all I feel great about.
Hmm.
Tim Hardaway is kind of similar to like a Malik Beasley, and if he gets
Hmm.
hot, maybe he
Yes.
gets a few
Yes.
extra minutes. It can happen. Does it happen frequently? Certainly no. But yeah, man. I mean, all these cheap wings are just really tough to get excited about right now.
Oh, sorry guys. I just noticed the names are kind of cut off. Let me know. I think you guys could tell who everyone here was though, but let me know next time if that happens. All right, let's go ahead and start our dummy. Are we throwing Pat Bev in first?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think he makes a lot of sense at
Pat
that
Bev
price.
and
Yeah,
then
DK price certainly. Go
DK
Bobby too.
Val.
Honestly, I mean,
Yeah, we'll throw Portis in there. We're definitely going to get him in today. Portis, P Bev. I mean,
Siakam is the run back.
yeah, I was going to say Miles Turner is top of value. Are we going that route? I
I
don't
like
like him,
him.
but
I mean, I like him, but I don't love the price. Yeah, I go Siakam, and then I
we'll do
don't know.
Siakam instead of Turner in this lineup. But for those watching, Turner's a really good play today. Gobert at center since we were hyping him up earlier.
Yeah, I like that. A little
I
bit
guess
too
we're
cheap.
going Gobert over Turner.
Go TJ at the second guard since we're hyping him too.
Yeah, and then Terrence Mann has shooting guard eligibility. Do we want to go that cheap and see if we can get in Luca?
Yeah, let's give it a go. I mean, there's not much in that range I feel good about, but
Yeah,
I'm fine taking a shot on.
Terrence Mann, Nickel Alexander Walker, both probably fine plays in this range too.
Hmm.
Util, Luca. We're gonna have 3,200 left, so it's
Let's
hard to
go,
fit in
Lou.
Luca today, man. None of these guys get playing time.
So that explains the ownership.
Uh,
I mean, most are probably going to go cheaper at center than Gobert, even at 71. I do love that price, though. I'm not going to lie. So,
yeah, let's mix it up with Zubac. Gives us 4,500, which lets us get Jaden McDaniels, Royce O'Neal, Nickel Alexander Walker.
yeah, I was going to say you go Zubac or Brolo for 54, and you're definitely in a better situation.
If we take out Luca, though, like people were talking about last time in the Discord, how much better their lineups look without Luca, and it's
Yeah,
like
it's
I
true.
don't know, let's plug in Ant Man, and Middleton, like versus
That's,
Luca and whatever
yeah.
garbage we had here earlier. So it's tough, man.
Yeah, it's like we have this value. Some of it's going to hit, some of it's not. I mean, just talking about last night, we saw Isaac go off, but we saw guys like Robinson and did I say Isaac? Harris went off.
Yeah, no.
Isaac and Robinson struggled. But yeah, I mean, you got to hit those pieces if you're playing stars and scrubs. It's a tough thing to do. Balance is certainly safer, but on some of these slates, we're going to see some of these values hit, and yeah, you're going to need that extra stud. So I don't know. There's game theory there. I think if you're playing smaller field contests, single entry stuff with only like 1,000 or fewer people, you go more balanced. But in large field contests, I mean, best way to get difference probably Jim and some of these studs that people aren't getting to.
Yeah, rather than try to find the pivots of value, the pivots at studs just have a bigger
Mhm.
impact. And
Yeah,
then Chris Davis in here. We're about to get out of here in a minute, guys. But is it okay to put faith in Eric Gordon or Grayson Allen? Blah. So I played like 50% Grayson Allen on the last slate. I mean, if you guys can't tell, I had a terrible first day of the NBA playoffs. But I don't mind getting to Grayson Allen tonight at
yeah,
5,300. Like he's in that range where he can do enough stuff to get there.
yeah. And
I
we
think
did
that's
get
it.
word 12 minutes limit for him, so he should be good to go.
Nice.
I like Allen. Gordon, terrifying.
Yeah, I don't know that
Don't
I'll get to
trust
much
Eric Gordon in
Gordon,
my.
but if I need the salary, I might find it in a couple. But this is, I mean, if he puts up 21 and a half tonight, he's probably in the winning lineup to be honest. So
Yeah, if he gets over 20, I mean, if any of those 3 to 4K guys get 20, you're gonna feel pretty good.
looks like he's like 1 out of 5. So it's not bad. Kawhi ruled out at 10:01 after being rolled in. I'll break my keyboard, dude, but
I mean, I'm not gonna be playing a ton of Kawhi. I will say that much.
I don't think I'm playing any Kawhi.
But yeah, I mean, if you're heavy on man, I mean, that would be favorable for
Actually,
you.
it might be good for me actually. So
Yeah,
never mind. But
you might buy a new keyboard after that slate.
right.
So
We'll see. Appreciate you guys watching. Again, we don't know exactly what the content schedule is going to be, so just keep an eye out on like YouTube notifications, whatever. Join the Discord down below. We're in the Discord every day. And so appreciate you guys watching. Good luck today. Go Clippers.